I was told, don't bother coming to Christmas. It's only for real family. So I sent the DNA results instead. They always said I wasn't really one of them, that I didn't look like Dad. So I got tested. Turns out, they were half right. Dad wasn't my father. Their mom wasn't their mother. Boom. Hey there. We're working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true, emotional stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Now let's get into the story. I got the text while I was reheating last night's pasta. No greeting, no punctuation. Just that one sentence. Don't bother coming to Christmas. It's for real family only. It was from my cousin Lena. The same cousin who once asked if I was adopted in front of a table full of people during Easter dinner. Everyone laughed. I remember blinking, unsure if it was a joke or a test. My dad just said, "She's just joking, son." But his eyes didn't match his voice. And nobody told her to stop. That was 15 years ago. This text felt like the final brick in a wall they'd been building around me since I was a kid. Growing up, I knew something was off. I looked nothing like my dad. Not in the maybe I took after mom kind of way. In the are you sure I belong here kind of way. My half-brother, Drew, had our dad's jawline and height. My half-sister, Ava, had our stepmom's sharp cheekbones and fire-starter temper. I had neither. My hair was darker, my eyes were hazel, not blue. My voice was deeper by age 12, and I was taller than both parents by 14. They chalked it up to genetics being weird sometimes. But I wasn't imagining the way my stepmom always introduced me as James Boy from his first situation, or how family photo walls skipped every school picture of mine between 2006 and 2012, the awkward years when I started asking questions like, why do we never visit mom's side of the family? I learned early not to ask those questions twice. When I was 16, I stopped trying to belong. If I was a guest in my own house, as Ava once said, then fine. I stopped bringing friends over. I stopped waiting for Dad to show up at my games. And I stopped trying to sit at the adult table during holidays. Every year, I brought the same store-bought dessert no one touched, wore the same polite smile, and left before dishes hit the sink. I was tolerated, like a draft in the room no one bothered sealing off. But that text from Lena? That changed everything. I stared at the message for a full 5 minutes. My microwave beeped 3 times. I didn't move. Not because it hurt. I'd already numbed myself to that kind of sting years ago, but because something about the wording crawled under my skin. Real family. What did that mean exactly? DNA? Loyalty? Blood? Proximity? What made them real and me not? I clicked on her name, scrolled up. The last message she sent was from August. Hey, can you help me move next weekend? Dad threw out his back again. I drove 90 minutes with a rental truck and carried a cracked treadmill up 3 flights of stairs while she texted someone from the couch. But sure, not real family. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I just sat down and opened my laptop. There's a moment, right before you buy something you know might change your entire life, where your hands hover, not from doubt, but from anticipation. Like the moment before opening a letter you've already read 100 times in your head. I ordered a DNA test. Not because I believed them. Not because I was desperate to be proven wrong. But because for the first time in my life, I wanted receipts. The holidays passed quietly. I didn't get a single text on Christmas. Not from Dad. Not from Drew or Ava. Not even a fake-forwarded Merry Christmas meme. The silence was loud. But the test kit came the day after, like a late gift with sharper edges. I followed the instructions, sealed the tube, and dropped it off at the post office on a windy Thursday. The woman at the counter smiled and said, "Family history stuff?" I shrugged. Something like that. While I waited, I kept my head down. Went to work. Cleaned my apartment. Ran. But my brain kept circling the same thoughts. If I wasn't my dad's biological son, then who was? If I was, then why did they treat me like a stranger who forgot to leave? 3 weeks later, the results arrived. I didn't open them right away. I stared at the notification on my phone like it was a warning label. Then I sat down, opened my laptop, and signed in. There was a name missing where there should have been one. Under paternal matches, it just said, no direct relative match. Then it gave me a confidence range. Highly unlikely that the tested individual is biologically related to James Porter, alleged father. There it was. Confirmation. But I didn't feel shattered. I felt focused, like a lens had clicked into place. The truth didn't end there, because as I scrolled through distant matches, something else hit me harder. One of the strongest matches, someone listed as half-sibling, wasn't Ava. And it wasn't Drew. It was someone I'd never met. A woman named Claire Richardson, aged 24. Born in the same city as Ava. Same hospital. Something was off. This wasn't just about me anymore. This wasn't just about one lie. This was something deeper. And suddenly, I wanted to dig. Hard. It's funny how fast a question can rot into an obsession. First, it's a hunch. Then it's a possibility. Then it becomes all you can think about when you're driving, brushing your teeth, or staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. That's where I was after reading those DNA results. My first thought was simple. Okay, I'm not James Porter's son. That wasn't even a shock at this point. It just confirmed a suspicion I'd quietly carried for years like a blister under a sock. But that match, Claire Richardson, that flipped everything upside down. I clicked her profile inside the testing platform. Same age as Ava. Born just 2 days before her. Same hospital. There was no denying it. The test listed her as a half-sister. Strong match. Not a glitch. And Ava, the person who'd mocked me for years, said I didn't belong, reminded me I was mom's mistake. She was nowhere in the match list. Nowhere close. That meant one of two things. Either Claire was some long-lost product of an affair, or Ava wasn't my father's daughter either. And I was starting to lean toward the second one. So I did what any rational adult would do in this emotionally delicate situation. I drove across the city to my dad's house and borrowed Drew's old toothbrush. It wasn't hard. He still lived at home, mid-divorce, mid-depression, and mid-unpacking his 8th starting over job since college. I told him I was stopping by to drop off a box of my mom's old books I found. While he smoked on the patio and vented about his ex's soul-sucking personality, I pocketed the toothbrush from the upstairs bathroom like a petty thief in a soap opera. My heart was pounding like I was stealing government files, but it had to be done. I sent it in under a fake profile. Same company, same lab. A week later, the results came in. My inbox buzzed just as I was getting off work. I sat in the car, keys still in the ignition, engine humming, while the page loaded. Match strength, low. Unlikely to be full or half-sibling of test subject. I read it twice. Drew and I weren't related. Not even close. Then I made a mistake. A brilliant, horrible mistake. I went back into my account and did a search for James Porter. There was a section where you could upload your own family tree, link known relatives. And someone had done that. Someone had publicly attached a family tree to their profile, my dad's profile, probably Lena. She was big on ancestry stuff, always posting about our Viking bloodline. And that's where the final blow landed. Ava wasn't there either. At this point, I was sitting in a parked car, hand frozen on the keys, staring at a family tree where none of the children matched the parents. Not me, not Drew, not Ava. All three of us didn't belong. Different fathers? Switched at birth? Affairs no one talked about. Whatever it wasn't just me being the outcast. It was all of us being lied to. That night, I ordered another test. This one wasn't for me. It was for Ava. Now, let me be clear, I didn't want revenge. Not yet. What I wanted was leverage. Cold, factual leverage. So I called her, asked if she could meet up for coffee, said I wanted to bury the hatchet. She was suspicious, naturally. She said she was busy, that she didn't have time for therapy projects. I baited her, told her dad had been acting strange, that I found something weird in mom's old documents, that I was worried. That did it. She agreed to meet. We sat in a loud cafe near her apartment. I brought a small folder filled with fake family court papers I printed from Google. Just enough to look concerning but vague. I told her dad might have falsified some documents about guardianship after our mom died. I watched her eyes flinch at the word guardianship. Then I told her I was doing a DNA kit just to confirm everything matched for legal reasons. I leaned back and waited. Sure enough, she said, I did one of those years ago. They're so creepy. That was enough. I nodded like I believed her. Asked her about work, made small talk. She relaxed. Then she excused herself to the bathroom and left her phone unlocked on the table. I took a picture of her profile info from her DNA app and left. I logged in later that night and synced the info into the main account I was building. A full web of connections, real relatives, false assumptions, and every branch was crooked. Turns out, Ava wasn't related to my father or my mother. Her real mom? A woman named Deborah Collins, who died giving birth in a different hospital, across town, on the exact same day our mother was supposed to have had Ava. And her father? Still alive, still listed in the system. A man who was definitely not James Porter. I sat back in my chair, breathing slow. This was no longer about just one person lying. This was an entire web of cover-ups, layers of deception, and a family that had spent years making sure no one ever dug deep enough to see it. But now I knew. I knew what they were. And I was building a record, a storm, a truth bomb, and I knew exactly when I was going to drop it. Christmas might have been for real family only this year, but next year, I'd make sure they didn't make the guest list. There's a strange kind of peace that comes with knowing everything you believed about your family was a lie. Not relief, not clarity, but a calm, almost surgical detachment. I stopped feeling hurt the moment I realized the truth wasn't just about me. It was about all of us. And someone had orchestrated this mess on purpose. I wasn't ready to explode everything. Not yet. I still had one more question. Who was my real father? The DNA platform had a list of matches marked close relatives. Most were distant cousins, second or third degree connections, except for one. Name, Russell Dane. Age, 53. Location, 2 zip codes over. Match strength, likely biological parent. I stared at the name for a long time. I didn't recognize it. Not a neighbor. Not a friend of the family. No old photos came to mind. Just a stranger with my blood in his veins. I clicked into his profile, but it was bare. No family tree. No photo. No bio. But he had opted into messaging. So I wrote to him. Not an essay. Just this. Hi. My name's Tyler. I took a DNA test recently, and it says you might be my biological father. I don't want to bother you. I'm just looking for answers. No pressure. No drama. Just the truth. Then I logged off and waited. He replied the next day. His message was short, polite, and cautious. Hi, Tyler. This is a bit of a shock, to be honest. I haven't taken many of these tests. Can you tell me your mother's name? I did. He responded within the hour. Is her name Angela? Angela Bird? Did she used to work at St. Vincent's Hospital in the late 90s? My hands went cold. That was my mother's full name. She passed away when I was 7. And yes, she worked at that hospital until the week she gave birth to me. So I replied, yes, that's her. Then I waited. 5 minutes. 10. 20. Finally, I got this. Then I think we should talk. We met at a quiet park by a lake the following Saturday. I arrived early and sat on a bench with my hood up, watching the ripples in the water. A man walked up, tall and broad-shouldered, maybe 6 feet 3 inches. He looked around, spotted me, then hesitated like he was looking at a ghost. His name was Russell. He wasn't what I expected. He wasn't some loser with a history of bad decisions. He was calm, well-dressed, serious. He worked in architecture, had a wife, 2 grown kids, lived 30 minutes away, and he had no idea I existed. I remember your mother, he said. She was quiet, brilliant. We only saw each other a few months. I didn't know she was pregnant. She never told me. He looked away when he said that, like it hurt. I would have stepped up, he said. I want you to know that. I didn't know what to say to that. So I just nodded. We sat in silence for a long time. Then I pulled out the manila folder. The one with the printouts. The DNA matches. The photos. The lie. I didn't expect him to believe me. But when he looked through it all, my test, Ava's info, the false records, he exhaled slow. That's heavy. Yeah, I said. And it gets worse. I told him about my childhood. The way I was always the outsider. The way the family clung to each other while leaving me out like I was some obligation. The way they laughed when I questioned it. Then guilt tripped me when I pulled away. Russell didn't say much after that, but he put his hand on my shoulder before we left. If you ever want to meet the rest of my family, no pressure. But the door's open. It was the first time anyone said that to me, and meant it. Back at home, I sat at my desk and looked at everything I'd gathered. I had a DNA-confirmed biological father, a sister, Ava, who belonged to neither of our parents, a brother, Drew, who also wasn't related to any of us, and a family that lied about every inch of it. So I did what I was always told not to do. I talked. I emailed one person first, my cousin Lena, the one who sent me the real family-only text. I didn't insult her. I didn't threaten her. I just attached 3 PDFs, one for me, one for Ava, one for Drew, and added a one-line message. Since you're the expert on who counts as real family, I thought you might want to take a look. Her response came within minutes. She called me. Twice. Then she texted. What is this? Is this a joke? Where did you get this stuff? Tyler, are you serious? And finally, you need to talk to your dad. Like now. I didn't reply. I saved the texts, took screenshots, stored everything in a folder on my desktop. Then I opened my email, typed out a new message to Dad, Stepmom, Drew, Ava, and Lena. Subject, let's clear the air. And I attached the full file. Every DNA result, every screenshot, a little family Christmas package from me to them. Then I hit Save Draft. Not send. Not yet. That message was my nuke. I wanted to wait for the right day to drop it. And that day was coming. They'd tried to erase me from the family, so I'd return the favor. There are moments where you feel like the main character in a movie. Not because it's fun, but because reality starts feeling too scripted to be coincidence. The moment I walked into my father's house that Thursday night, the house I grew up in, the one where my name was never on the mantle, I felt it in my chest. This wasn't a home. It was a crime scene. And the secrets were the chalk outlines. My dad had called me earlier that day. No warning, no build-up, just a call from James Porter, the name in my phone I'd stopped associating with the word dad a long time ago. His voice was sharp, controlled, like someone holding back panic. Lena told me you've been snooping around. What the hell are you trying to do here, Tyler? Not, are you okay? Not, can we talk? Just straight into damage control. I told him I dropped by, that there were things we needed to clear up. He didn't argue. That should have been my first red flag. The house looked the same. Clean, cold, beige walls. That weird smell of potpourri and burned coffee. My stepmom sat on the love seat, arms folded, eyes already rolling. Ava was perched on the stairs, phone in hand, pretending not to listen. Drew was in the kitchen doorway, chewing on sunflower seeds like a spectator at a fight. Dad sat across from me, hands clasped together like a coach mid-timeout. I dropped the folder on the coffee table between us. Go ahead, I said. Take a look. He didn't touch it. He just stared at me, and then said the most telling thing I'd ever heard him say. Why now? Not what is this? Not where did you get this? Not how do you know? Just, why now? That's when I knew. He wasn't shocked. He wasn't confused. He'd known. Maybe not every detail. Maybe not who my father really was, or Ava's, or Drew's. But he knew something was wrong, and he'd spent years choosing silence over answers. My stepmom was the first to snap. You think this little DNA stunt means anything? Those kits are garbage. You know that, right? They're just a money grab. I didn't even look at her. I spoke directly to him. Tell me the truth. Did you know I wasn't your son? Silence. Then he sighed and nodded. It wasn't theatrical. No tears. No angry outburst. Just a quiet, tired confirmation. He said he found out after my mother died, that she left a note with her will. Something vague. Something he didn't show anyone else. He never asked questions because, in his words, I figured it didn't matter. You were already my responsibility. That word, responsibility, hit like a slap. Like I was some debt he inherited. I asked about Ava. He wouldn't answer. I turned to Ava. Do you even know who your parents are? She flinched. For once, the smug confidence cracked. Then Drew spoke. I did a test last year, he muttered. Didn't match Dad either. Figured it was a fluke. I turned slowly to him. You knew, and you didn't say anything? He shrugged. It didn't change anything for me. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how normal they all acted. Like this wasn't a bomb. Like I'd just pointed out a crooked painting, not a collapsed foundation. They'd been pretending so long they forgot how strange it was. I stood up. I met my real father. That got everyone's attention. My dad's jaw tightened. My stepmom turned pale. He had no idea I existed. Because no one told him. Just like no one told me. No one spoke. So I took one last look around the room. Same photos on the wall. All of them cropped just enough to push me out of frame. Same holiday cards from relatives I'd never met. Same house. Only now, it finally made sense. It was never mine. I walked to the door. Before I left, I said one last thing. Next Christmas? Don't worry about uninviting me. I paused. I won't be sending DNA results next time. I'll be sending subpoenas. My stepmom's jaw dropped. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I smiled, not out of malice, but clarity. There's more than one kind of inheritance. And I'm done getting the scraps. I left before they could respond. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Back home, I opened the email draft titled, Let's Clear the Air. Added one more attachment, a signed affidavit from my biological father. Proof of identity. Proof of paternity. Proof that they had all spent years lying and still couldn't admit it. Then I changed the subject line to something simpler. to the real family, and hit send. They say when a bomb goes off, there's silence first. A pressure wave. Stillness. Then the sound hits. That's exactly how it felt. I closed my laptop, turned off my phone, and waited, because I knew what was coming next. And it was going to be loud. My phone stayed off for 2 hours. Long enough for the message to be read by every single person on that list. Long enough for it to bounce around the family like a lit match in a room full of gasoline. When I turned it back on, the home screen was already lighting up. 16 missed calls, 3 voicemails, dozens of texts. And counting. The first text came from Dad. "What the hell are you trying to do? Are you trying to blow this family up?" Then one from Lena. "You're being seriously out of line. This isn't the way to handle family stuff." Another from Ava. "Why would you do this to us? You've always been jealous. Admit it." Not one message said, "Is it true?" Not one of them asked how I felt. They were all focused on one thing, control, and I'd just taken it away from them. I expected the denial. I expected the deflections. But what I didn't expect was Drew. He called around midnight. I let it ring, unsure if I even wanted to hear his voice. Then I picked up. He sounded off. Not angry, scared. "Ty," he said, "what if you're right about all of it?" I didn't say anything. He kept talking. I ran my results again. Signed into the site. Matched with a woman named Iris. Says she's my aunt. But I've never heard of her before. Says she had a sister who gave up a baby in '95. Dude, that's me. He was breathing hard. I could hear the panic creeping in. And I realized something. Drew had lived his whole life believing he was the only real son. The golden child. The one who belonged. Now, the floor had dropped out from under him. "What do I do?" he asked. I answered honestly. "Start by asking Dad who your mother was." The next morning, the group chat exploded. Someone, probably Lena, forwarded my email to the extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years. Some responded with silence. Some asked if it was fake. But one message caught my eye. It was from Aunt Carla, my dad's oldest sister. "Tyler, call me. I know things. Things your father never told anyone." I hesitated. Then I called. She picked up on the second ring. Aunt Carla had always been the quiet one. Kept to herself. Showed up to family events. Stayed on the sidelines. Never joined the gossip. But now she was ready to talk. She told me that after my mother died, James changed. Not outwardly. He didn't get more distant. He got more controlling. Locked down the finances. Rewrote wills. Cut off contact with old friends of my mom's. He shut down every mention of her past. "I never understood why," she said, "until I saw your email." Then she dropped a bomb. "I think he knew your mother cheated. I think he was afraid the truth would come out after she passed, and it would ruin everything. The sympathy, the inheritance, the image." "But Ava?" I asked. "Drew." Carla sighed. "Ava was a last-minute adoption. There was a fire at the hospital the day she was born. Some files got lost. There was a mix-up. But James insisted she was his. Told everyone not to ask questions. And Drew." Another pause. "He's not your stepmom's son. Not biologically. She miscarried in '94. Then suddenly she was pregnant again 2 months later. No one knew how." I went silent. Everything made sense now. This family wasn't a family. It was a collection of cover-ups. A house built out of misdirection, shame, and fear. And the foundation had finally cracked. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because while I'd been blowing open the truth from the outside, someone else was about to detonate it from within. That night, Ava sent me a voice message. I stared at it for 10 minutes before pressing play. Her voice was shaking. Not angry. Just hollow. "I got my own results today. You were right. About everything. I'm not his daughter. I'm not my mom's daughter either. I don't know who I am." There was a pause. "I found my birth certificate in the attic. There's a name scribbled out on it. I don't know what that means. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to live here. I know I've been awful to you. But I didn't know any of this. I swear I didn't. They lied to me too." She ended with, "I'm sorry." Then silence. Ava. The same girl who called me a mistake when we were 12. The same one who told me not to sit at her table at Thanksgiving. Now she was standing on the edge of the same cliff. And maybe, just maybe, starting to understand what it felt like. I didn't reply. Not yet. But I saved the message. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry when I heard her voice. I felt pity. Because she wasn't the villain anymore. She was just another orphan of the lie. 3 days after Ava's message, I got one last text. From Dad. "You win. Hope you're happy." No apology. No accountability. Just a man realizing the mask he wore for decades was finally off, and the silence he used as a weapon no longer worked. I didn't respond. Instead, I met up with Russell, my real father, for lunch. We didn't talk about the DNA anymore. We talked about music, movies, work. For the first time in years, I sat across from someone who wanted to know me. Not out of obligation, just because he cared. Before we parted ways, he handed me a small envelope. Inside was a photo of my mother, pregnant, laughing, with him. The caption on the back said, "Summer before everything changed." That night, I opened a new group chat. Added Russell. Added Aunt Carla. Added Claire, the half-sister I found through the DNA site. A few cousins from my mom's side too. Then I wrote, "Christmas is next weekend. You're all invited. Bring whatever you want. Just bring honesty." I cleaned the apartment, put up lights, cooked, played music, and when people showed up, there were hugs, laughter, awkward introductions, tears, but no lies. By midnight, I looked around the room. Some shared my blood, some didn't, but every single person chose to be there. And for the first time in my life, that felt like enough. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.